with half the season behind us now, I only have a couple more months of ignoring my girlfriend for football on Sundays. All right, you guys. I just got done watching the awesome Sunday night football game, Packers at Chiefs. Would have been a little bit better if my man Patrick Mahomes were playing, but a lot better game than I personally expected it to be. Aaron Rodgers comes out ahead. I think God, awesome game. I'm super excited. I have to catch myself up. Like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Check out the podcast that I do every Wednesday with my good friend Jacob Waters. All that is awesome. I have really been starting to roll on this whole YouTube thing, so kind of still getting the rust off, but I think I am starting to really get it. With that being said, I have to start with the Sunday night football game as I was just talking about. Awesome game. Super great. I didn't expect it to be that good. I thought Aaron Rodgers and the Packers were going to roll over the Chiefs without Patrick Mahomes there, but they didn't. I mean, you could tell this was a game that that Andy Reid prepared for. It was a lot of awesome plays from the Chiefs, a lot of really cool play designs. There was one where they threw it to, I think, McCall Hardman or the running back or whatever, and it's like all the wide receivers like built a wall, like it was a punt return. Super cool. A lot of other great plays that I honestly would am considering just diving into because I really love this game. Maybe on like a separate video. I don't know about that. Got a lot going on this week. But man, I didn't write any notes for this. I'm just kind of riffing on this one. Aaron Rodgers does Aaron Rodgers things. There's like two different times where he throws a touchdown pass while being sacked, like at the same time of like just oh shit, I'm going, nope, touchdown, sorry, I'm Aaron Rodgers. Fucking amazing. That was awesome. Chiefs actually got pressure, which was pretty cool. Chiefs actually kind of contained the Packers offense until the end, where it was like, all right, we're just gonna use Aaron Jones and roll over y'all to win the game, which was fine. The last 5 minutes could have been a little bit more exciting, but I mean, Matt Moore, old Dolphins backup. I mean, one of the best backups in the league. Like, Matt Moore is, I mean, he's older. I understand he's not like, starting caliber dude, but really good backup. And I'm super glad that he's back and like throwing, I wouldn't say bombs, but solid balls to Tyreek Hill and Hardman and Kelsey. Kelsey was his guy. It was a great game. I really enjoyed it. Man, I wish I would have written notes and could like talk about it a little bit more. No, it just ended, and I'm like, I gotta record a video. So that's where we're at now. All right, so let's get rolling into the morning games. We're gonna start with the Jets and Jaguars. Game was 15-29. Jaguars kind of blew the Jets out for the most part. Brings the Jaguars to 4-4, and then of course the Jets I think are like 1-6, so they're pretty much done. But yeah, after the first drive for the Jets, it was pretty much, I mean, the Jets had the first drive and they went down the field and scored a touchdown. After that, it was pretty much all Jaguars. You saw a lot of cover zero blitz. It was what the Patriots did last year with the very popular I'm seeing ghosts comment from Sam Darnold, which I didn't really care about or have any issue with. He's playing the Patriots, of course you're probably seeing ghosts. There was actually a really great video that Brett something, I don't remember his last name, but he has an awesome YouTube channel. He did a video on it and I really appreciate that. Actually, I'm going to leave that in the link below just so if you guys aren't interested in that. He broke down how the Patriots defense does that to players, and he talked about Patrick Mahomes having the same kind of issue last year, and then of course Sam Darnold last week. That's totally beside the point. This week it happened again. The Jaguars defense ate. I mean, Jaguars defense is not as good as the Patriots, so this could be a recurring theme. Everyone knows that when you play the Patriots, the team that plays you next kind of has the blueprint for how to beat you. And I mean, the Jags were able to do it. They got 8 sacks, 3 interceptions. Really messed Darnold up. They kept him, I mean, under pressure and not really knowing what he was doing. And it was just another really bad game for Sam Darnold and the Jets team that's pretty much done. I will say, I think Adam Gase. I mean, this has to be a one and done year. Like, I feel like there could legitimately be 3 one and done seasons as head coaches, and I wouldn't even hate it. Like, I couldn't even blame the teams for doing it. But I really think Adam Gase could be in that category. You combine what happened in the offseason with all the, the GM and all that crap with Le'Veon Bell, he didn't want him, whatever. And then now, this season, which I said before and I'll say again, it was bad. It was a terrible start. The Jets' the Jets' schedule gets a lot easier down the stretch. So, it might be a little bit easier, but it's still scary. I don't know, man. That's a tough one. As far as the Jaguars offensively, I mean, they played really well. The Jets actually kind of kept Fournette in check, other than a 66-yard run in the second play of the game. I think the Fournette really didn't get going. He had 19 carries for 76 yards. That includes the 66-yard run. So, I mean, he was held in check for the majority of that game. I did want to say, because Fournette only has 1 touchdown through the season. That's got to change. Like that, I mean, I'm not saying, that has to change. I'm saying that's going to change. That's going to regress to the mean. Fournette's going to be getting some points, getting some touchdowns throughout the rest of the season. The amount of usage that he gets, I mean, he gets all the goal line work. I think I'm an owner of Fournette in one league, and I was actually really considering trading him. And I was just looking, and I was like, man, I really think that's going to change. That's just natural, just like when there was a time fantasy owners of Julio Jones, I believe it was last year, maybe it was the year before. I don't know. It was definitely last year. He had this huge drought of no touchdowns, and then it came, and a lot of touchdowns came, So obviously you never know. Maybe Fournette only gets 1 touchdown the rest of the season. I think it's going to happen for him. I really do. I believe that. But this isn't a video about Fournette or fantasy football, so I will move on from there. I have been saying this for weeks, and I know it's probably annoying if you've been listening to these or watching these every week. Gardner Minshew needs to be the starter. I was watching a little bit of the game, going back and forth. A lot of the games I don't really end up listening to the audio or the announcers talk, just because I don't get a chance to. I was listening to the announcers talk about Gardner Minshew and how good he is, but also that he should that when Foles gets back, Foles will be the starter. That surprised me a little bit. Am I the only one that is looking around like Foles isn't that great, right? I understand, he's a Super Bowl MVP and all that, and he had a great couple games, but that Eagles team was a really good team. And, we saw him last season, start the first couple games, and it didn't look great. I don't know how, and I understand, you paid all this money for Nick Foles. He looked good before he went down, and, he goes down, and you expect to get him back, but, Minshew's kept you in this game, or kept you in the season. He's done things that I know Foles can't do, as far as his dancing around the pocket, and he's gotten you in trouble a couple times too. But I would say more often than not, he's winning you the games, and he had a great game this week. Let's see here, I have it somewhere. Went 22 for 34, 3 touchdowns with a 119.6 passer rating. That's great. Gardner Minshew is killing it right now. He really is. He's doing well. And I understand this is a Jets team that, isn't great. But, I would argue that this Jets defense is better than maybe whatever their, ranking is. I don't know what it is, but I would argue that it's probably a little bit better because, they have the pieces, and the pieces have been injured, Mosley just came back for this game, but they have pieces all over the defense. The defensive coordinator Greg Robinson is good. He's a good defensive coordinator. I know people have issues with him for all the off the field stuff. Maybe not off the field. I don't know. He was involved in the Target Gate down in New Orleans, and he had issues with the Browns last year. I understand there's some personality things, but he's been a good coordinator, throughout his career. And he came and he brought pressure on Gardner Minshew, and it wasn't an issue. He was able to turn out a really good statistical game, and he won his. He led his team to victory with 3 touchdowns, 3 beautiful touchdowns, I would argue. But yeah, I'm spent a lot of time on a Jets and Jaguars matchup, so we'll end it right here. Yeah, so we will end that and we will move on to the Cardinals and the Saints. The Saints moved to 7-1, steamrolling the Cardinals to a 31-9 victory. Drew Brees is back. When the thumb injury happened in Week 3, they talked about how he was planning on coming back for Week 8. That's what the timeline that he was looking for. Came back in Week 8, played the Cardinals, crushed the Cardinals. Drew Brees, 373 yards, 3 touchdowns, 79.1 completion percentage. He did that without Alvin Kamara. Latavius Murray, who I would definitely say is not anywhere near what Alvin Kamara is, and who's kind of been a disappointment throughout this season, came out with a really good game, played pretty well, 102 yards on the ground with a touchdown, and then caught 9 passes for 55 yards. I believe it was 9 of 12. It was kind of killing the Cardinals through the air and on the ground. So that was really cool to see for a guy who I expected a little bit more from when he was coming into the season, and up to this point hadn't seen what maybe I expected, or maybe I was just comparing him to Ingram, and he has not been Ingram up to this point. But moving forward, they absolutely crushed the Cardinals. Cardinals really couldn't get going. David Johnson was out for this game. Chase Edmonds leaves the game in the third quarter, which paved the way for Zach Zinner to do just about nothing. Alfred Morris did not get a touch, and both of those guys were just signed this past week. So that means going into the Thursday night game, because we don't know if David Johnson's going to play, but there was a report earlier this week that he probably wasn't going to. Now with Chase Edmonds leaving the game with a hamstring injury, the Cardinals could go into a Thursday night game with 2 running backs starting let me rephrase that, without a running back on the roster, or on the active roster, that has been on the team for more than 2 weeks. So that's really scary if you're a Cardinals fan, and if you're a fantasy fan at all, honestly. So that could be very, very scary. This game did snap a 3-game winning streak for the Cardinals, which I did say in my last video to pay attention to who the Cardinals beat. Wasn't a lot of good teams. So, they ran into the Saints, and the Saints did what they were supposed to do here. So the Saints go into the bye, 7-1, looking really, really good, and I think they're going to keep it rolling. This could be one of the best teams in the NFL. Really could. So, yeah. Let's transition over to London, where the Bengals and Rams played. Bengals 0-8 now, and the Rams moved to 5-3 after the Rams pretty much won the game in the first half and just kind of took their foot off the gas and skated by to a 24-10 victory over the Bengals. It was kind of weird the second half. It really seemed like Sean McVay was like, "Oh, hey, Zach Taylor, we don't want to." We don't want to crush you. We don't want to make you look too bad. So we're just going to, take our foot off the gas. They took Todd Gurley out pretty early. They took out a couple other starters early. And, it was just an easy game for the Rams. And I hate to say the word easy, but that's really what it looked like. There was really never a point in the game where the Bengals ever had a chance, honestly. It's how bad the Bengals are right now. But that did not stop Cooper Kupp from going for, 220 yards on 7 catches and a touchdown. Cooper Kupp should, and I think has kind of moved himself up into that next tier of wide receivers. I feel like up to this point I've maybe always considered him just like a slot guy. No, this dude, he's next level. He is Keenan Allen, Adam Thielen level guy. I think he's right in that range as a wide receiver. Really, really borderline elite wide receiver who is a weapon for the Rams, an absolute weapon. Another piece of wide receiver news for the Rams, though, Cooks is left the game with his second concussion in this month. He had a concussion a couple weeks ago against the Seahawks. This is his second concussion in the past month, and that's always scary when you hear multiple concussions, kind of on top of each other. I will say, I went back and looked it up. This is his fourth concussion in his career. So that's really sombering. That's a little scary for a guy who has all the talent in the world. Stuff like that is what shortens careers. So you hate to see it for a guy, but you also don't want to see the second half of his life be riddled with brain issues. I mean, that's nobody wants that. So that really sucks for Cooks. Hopefully it's nothing serious. I don't have a lot of knowledge on concussions and CT and all that crap. I won't say crap, but all that stuff. But hopefully he can come back fast. Hopefully he's cleared to play. Hopefully he's able to play for a long time, and this kind of thing doesn't happen again, because it really is very dangerous. And you see guys retire all the time because of the amount of concussions you get. And he has 4 recorded. You never know how many more he's not told anybody about. So other than that, I don't really have a lot of notes for this game. Rams crushed the Bengals. I don't know why that was ever considered a London level game. I guess London games aren't inherently good games. They're just played in London. But yeah, the Rams are 5-3 and third in their division going into their bye. So that is kind of weird, kind of funny, I guess. They have the 49ers who are undefeated, and then the Seahawks, and they just have a really, really tough division. So yeah, we will move on. The Broncos played at the Colts today in a defensive struggle. Colts end up winning it on the leg of Adam Vinatieri, 13-15 victory over the Broncos. And I want to say, you should have expected this. I was telling everybody that I could that this was how this game was going to go. The Colts have, throughout the season, kind of played to every other team, because they're able to morph their team into whatever they need to be. This week they need to have a defensive showdown where they could, they were trailing the entire time, but were able to come back, with less than a minute left and win the game with Adam Vinatieri. Which, granted, they're not going to be losing this game the entire time, or they're not in a situation where they have to do that if Adam Vinatieri doesn't miss some kicks earlier in the game. But, I mean, regardless, the Colts are, absolutely amazing in their ability to kind of win any way possible, any way they have to. Going into this game, the Broncos don't have a great offense, but they have a really, really good defense. And it shouldn't surprise you that, they're able to contain the Colts. And they really were for the majority of the game. And the Colts defense, was able to do exactly what they were supposed to. They held the Broncos to 13 points. And the Broncos defense was, did everything they could to win. After the game, Flacco did criticize offensive coordinator Rich Scangarello for kind of passive play calling, and I don't know, man. I absolutely agree. He was referencing a 3rd and 5 when they had the ball at the end of the game. They decided to run it up the middle, give the ball back to the Colts, and the Colts got the ball at the 11-yard line and were able to go down the field and get a field goal. I think the criticism is just. Joe Flacco is right to be upset that his team is, in his words, afraid to lose, because I do agree the Broncos are playing very strange, or have very strange play calls at the end of the games, because they've played a lot of close games. This team could be a contending team if a couple things go their way. They've lost a lot of really close games. But with that being said, some of that's on you, Joe Flacco. Like, you're not that good. I don't know what other way to say that. You're not an elite quarterback in this league, in my opinion. And, the play calling is passive, and there are issues there. But, there was a point in the game, or at the very end of the game, you're, running, trying to make a play, and you get caught from behind. You're a veteran quarterback. You should know that somebody's going to be behind you, especially where you were. You're kind of running up in the pocket. There's no awareness there, which, I know that can happen to anybody, and maybe that's kind of a nitpicky thing. But I think the criticism from Joe Flacco is warranted, is fair. I'm not a fan of Rich Scangarello. I'm not a fan of the way this team is played offensively at all. But I mean, their offense is kind of matching their defense, and I'm kind of a big emphasis on that. Their defense is really good, and they're able to hold people to close games. So their offense should be looking to, play safe, play conservative, and your defense can win you games. So I don't hate I don't hate that marriage of offense and defense from a philosophy standpoint. It's just their offense isn't quite good enough, and their defense isn't quite good enough, and they're sitting at 2-6. Here's where the big question comes in: when do you play Drew Lock? Drew Lock was my technically number 2. I mean, I expected him to be the second quarterback taken. I was very high on him. I didn't make a formal ranking, so there's nothing to go back on and look at. But I don't know if I would have made him number 1 or number 2. I knew that Kyler was going to be the first pick, so I guess I would have made him number 2. I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't have based it on draft order, so I don't know. But I thought he was going to be a very good quarterback in this league. We'll put it that way. And he has not really gotten a chance. He did have the injury early, and it seemed like they kind of had no interest in playing Drew Lock early on. And I think that's fair. I was projecting his talent more than I was looking at his on-field performance sometimes, I guess. But I was shocked he fell to the second round. I thought this was a great spot for him. I think that Drew Lock could be the future of this team, and I think it's about time for us to see that. I think he needs to. Joe Flacco isn't getting it done. You're not winning anything this year, so let's see what Drew Lock can do. I think it's time for them to make a change at quarterback. All right, we will move on to the Buccaneers at the Titans. The Titans moved to 4-4 with a 27-3 victory over the Buccaneers. Ryan Tannehill is 2-0 as a starter for the Titans, and that's about all the good I have for this game. Titans won an ugly one, man. This is really more about the Buccaneers. They beat themselves. It's amazing how Jameis Winston can have such high highs and such low lows. Jameis beat this. I mean, I don't know. 21 for 43, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on top of 2 fumbles. I mean, so he single-handedly dismantled this team while also making a couple of the best throws I've seen. It's an asinine. It's frustrating. It's crushing if you're a Buccaneers fan. Jameis Winston, I mean, I don't ever remember him. I mean, I'm a Florida State fan who was kind of renounced myself from Jameis Winston for all the off-field stuff that I believe he did or didn't do, whatever. But man, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I never saw him do this. I mean, 1 second he's evading 3 guys and throwing a dime downfield. The next second he has a clean pocket and he's overthrowing Mike Williams, who's wide the fuck open. It just makes no sense to me. And on the Titans side, I mean, they kind of got the run game going, but not really. They could really use another running back. That's another spot that maybe Kenyon Drake could go. Tannehill was efficient, 21 for 33, 3 touchdowns, and I don't have the yardage. Well, played well, but wasn't world beating. Like I said, I really believe this is a lot more to do with what the Buccaneers, they killed themselves. They gave the Titans great field position, and the Titans were able to, take advantage of a lot of the mistakes that they made. And the Titans weren't without their share of mistakes as well. I won't deny that. But I mean, this was really about the Buccaneers and specifically Jameis Winston, doing more harm than good. And that just is what it is. On the fantasy front, Jonnu Smith could be a name to remember. Tight ends are always scarce in fantasy, and Jonnu Smith went 6 for 78 yards, and 6 catches, 78 yards. That's a solid day for a tight end, excuse me. And he seemed like he could be the outlet guy that Ryan Tannehill always seems to like. So yeah. Giants at the Lions. The Lions moved to 3-1, 26-31 victory over a Giants team that really, I don't believe, ever had a chance to win this game, but was able to stay in it. I think it was more to do with just the Lions kind of let them stick around, and they couldn't really put them away at any point. But I really never at any point watching this game felt like the Giants were ever going to win this game. Lions had control. Matt Stafford played really well. Their running game was going to be an issue. Ty Johnson was 6 carries for 11 yards. That was the guy who everyone thought was going to be the lead back. Didn't end up being the lead back. Trey Carson carried the ball 12 times for 34 yards. No matter how you look at this, they're struggling for a running back. This is the team that I believe Kenyon Drake goes to. I know I've talked about other teams that could trade for him. We know he's going somewhere. As I said, he's not traveling for tomorrow's game or today's game, I guess, when this video comes out. But I mean, he's going somewhere. I think it should be the Lions. Watching this game, I couldn't stop thinking how much I love Jared Davis, tight end out of Florida. I believe this is his 3rd season, maybe 4th, 3rd, I think, though. Absolutely. I mean, he's one of my favorite defensive players in the NFL, and I'm a big fan of hard-hitting tight ends that can really go sideline to sideline. That's what he can do, and I think you should put him on notice. He is among the best tight ends in the NFL from just truly my eye test. I really believe that. He's not helped a lot by the other guys at the position, but Jared Davis, always all over the ball, always playing, fast and hard, and he caused a fumble in this game. He's one of my favorite guys in the NFL, or defensive players in the NFL, and he is really one of the best tight ends in the NFL. Let's see what else I have here. Daniel Jones, 322 yards and 4 touchdowns, but he did I guess if you look at the score, you could say this is what lost him the game. It's not, but he threw a pass that I think he thought was going to be just an incomplete pass into the dirt, kind of throwing it away. Well, he threw it behind him, and that's what's known as a backward pass, which was then picked up by Lions defender and run into the end zone. And that was a huge play in the game. Really kind of put the Lions far ahead and changed, it took the Giants kind of out of any real chance to win, I feel like. But I mean, this game was, I feel like the Lions win, but it's also, if you're a Lions fan, you're looking at this, man, we couldn't put away the good team. That's always kind of, or the bad team. We couldn't put away the bad team. That's always kind of scary when you're kind of that fringe team. The Lions really haven't been able to beat any of the good teams in the NFL right now, but they're staying really close and they're making it very competitive. So I think they're going to continue to do that. They're going to be a pain in the ass. Like I said, they're going to be a pain in the ass team for a lot of franchises in the NFC. I don't think they end up making the playoffs. I feel like this season is still going to be considered a disappointment for Lions fans. But, I mean, they're going in the right direction. They're very close to being a very, very, very good team. They're just a couple pieces away, and maybe, some growing pains from Matt Patricia as a head coach. Maybe he's made a couple mistakes here and there that I feel like are rectifiable, are fixable. But a couple issues I've had with just the way he calls plays and the way he, manages the game. Other than that, if you're a Giants fan, I don't know. I didn't think Daniel Jones was going to be the guy. Now it's 4 losing games in a row, and you're like, man, that 2-game win streak to start off the Daniel Jones era is feeling like it's very, very far away. And you just never know. Hopefully this doesn't rattle him. He's not on a very good team. He's doing, I feel like, his best. I feel like he's doing well. If he can get through kind of this growing pains of a first season, hopefully Daniel Jones can improve and do better, and the Giants can kind of put an offense around him. It seems like this guy, Darius Slayton, out of Auburn, who, if you listen to the podcast, Jacob is a big fan of. Two catches, 2 touchdowns, 50 yards. I mean, you can't beat that. Two acrobatic touchdowns to keep them in the game a little bit. Helped out. But yeah, moving forward, you just hope to see improvement. Marked improvement is all you really need to see as a Giants fan, because you're not really getting anywhere else in this season. Not at 2-6. Let's move on to the Eagles at the Bills. 31-13 victory for the Eagles over the Bills. This was a shocker for me. This is the first game that I feel like was a big shock, like as far as the way the game played out. Pretty much up to this point, every game we talked about, other than I guess the Monday night game, I pretty much went the way I would have expected, or pretty close to the way I would have expected. This game did not. I expected the Bills to be able to handle the Eagles offensively. I didn't think the Eagles would be able to score 13, let alone 31. And they were. They kind of, I guess, figured out, or I'll phrase this another way. I think the Bills struggled to figure out the Eagles' offense. The Eagles kind of brought some new things to the table, I feel like, offensively, and really were able to get going. They got going on the ground. Miles Sanders was kind of having a career game, the rookie out of Penn State, till he left in the third quarter, which really hurts them. But, I mean, Howard played very well. Boston Scott, their third-string running back, got a touchdown, so they did pretty well on the ground. Carson Wentz wasn't asked to do everything. He just kind of had to play point guard, get his guys the ball, and that was, that's all you need. That's all you want from a quarterback, man. Like, especially the Carson Wentz type who is used to having to do everything. It's really nice when you see a guy like that. Hey, you don't have to do everything. You can just sit back there, play an efficient game, and win help your team win, or let your team help you win. I think is a better way to say that. And then in the times where you need to put the team on your back and lead a victory, you can, because you're not asked to do it every single play, every single game, because that's impossible. Other than that, I feel like Josh Allen is the issue for the Bills right now. I feel like Josh Allen needs to take a step forward. Bills put up 13 points against an Eagles defense that isn't very good. I understand they got Ronald Darby back, and that does help in the secondary. It doesn't matter. The Eagles secondary is still not very good. The Eagles defense isn't very good in general. Their defensive line, I feel like, played a lot better, controlled the line of scrimmage for the most part of the game. But that shouldn't matter. Josh Allen, you have to be better. You're on a Super Bowl contending team. Your team is Super Bowl contending. You have to be up to that level, or you're not going to be. And I'm saying that as a guy who has been kind of, screaming, Bills, Bills, Bills for the majority of the season, even though they haven't played anybody very good. I mean, if you look at the teams they've beaten the Jets, Giants, Bengals, Titans, and Dolphins. So I'm sitting here like, oh, they just played the Eagles, and they didn't look very good, and they didn't look very good against the Patriots, who also beat them. So this 5-2 Bills team, are they a mirage or are they real? And I wasn't questioning that a couple weeks ago, or even as recently as before this game. I wasn't questioning that, and I hate to be so reactionary. I really try not to be for the most part, but I mean, when you see a performance like that, when you realize, oh man, I haven't seen Josh Allen be that good all year. But I just kept thinking, it doesn't matter. The defense keeps them in it. The offense can keep them in it. They'll have enough plays to, score enough points to win. But, I mean, the Eagles wanted to play they wanted to play a fast break kind of offense and just score. And the Bills were not able to keep up. They weren't even able to remotely keep up. This was a blowout in every sense of the word. And the defense need to be better if they want to be the contending team that I thought they could be. So that's a little scary. Oh, and on the Eagles side of the ball, I don't think this matters long term. I still don't think they're a contending team in the NFC. The NFC is just too good. That's really what it comes down to. I think they're too good to get that wild card spot. I don't think they can beat out the Rams for a wild card spot, and I don't think they can beat out the Cowboys for the division. So I think that's where we're at with the Eagles this year. Moving on to the Chargers. The Chargers narrowly outlast the Bears in a 17-16 victory that was decided by none other than Matt Nagy and his terrible offensive play calling. Yeah. Seriously though. I understand Eddie Pinheiro misses the kick. Bears lose the game, and they're all like, oh no, Eddie Pinheiro, we thought you were the guy and you're not. First of all, shouldn't have got Robbie Gould. That's just, it amazes me how many games can go down to the wire and you need your kicker to ball out, and you're not going to invest in a kicker. It just kills me. It absolutely kills me. Kicker is so important to great teams, and there's just so many franchises that just don't put the emphasis on it, and they absolutely should. And, the Bears only did until they got double doinked out of the playoffs last year. But no, I don't blame this game on the kicker. I blame this game on Matt Nagy, being in the red zone on a drive 6 plays, and they run the ball once at the end of the second half. They run the ball one time. And they ran the ball at the worst possible time. You ran the ball when you were out of time. You couldn't run the ball before you used a timeout. You couldn't have like the most efficient way to score touchdowns when you're inside that 5 and 10 yard line is to run the ball. You have a running back who in college was the hardest to tackle running back in college last year. And I've seen him do it in the NFL. Not consistently because you don't let him, but I've seen him. I've seen him do it. He can do it. David Montgomery's a good running back. He should be your goal line guy. You should be giving it to him and giving it to him and giving it to him again. Because if you give him this much room, he's going to get a touchdown. And you give it to him one time and he doesn't get it. And yeah, that happens. That happens to every great running back. But give it to him again. It kills me. If you don't believe in David Montgomery and I'm just wrong on that, that's fine. You got to be more creative, man. You got to. Like you said last week in the press conference, we need to run the ball more because Trubisky can't fucking throw. And, you didn't say that part, but we heard it. And Trubisky can't fucking throw, but you're going to call passing plays 6-7 times on a drive in the red zone? Like, that's absolutely asinine, and you don't deserve to have been Coach of the Year last year. You don't deserve to be the play caller this year if you're going to do stupid shit like that. It just fucking kills me because the Bears defense is too good to be let down with the offense this many times through this season. They are too good. They have too many pieces offensively. They have a guy who's supposed to be this offensive genius but can't manufacture any yards. And we're all looking at Trubisky as the only problem. Trubisky's the issue. Trubisky has issues, but he played okay today. He didn't play great, but he played about as good as you can get from Trubisky at this point. We haven't seen him do much better than this. He played fine. He played okay. Matt, now you lost your team this game. The Chargers suck. They fucking suck. They're bad all the way through. I talked about that at length last week. I don't need to get into it again because they did the exact same thing they did last week. Phillip Rivers is done. It's over for Phillip Rivers. I'm sorry. It sucks, Chargers fans. The defense is just depleted with injuries. The offensive line is depleted with injuries, and they're just not good. They're just not. Bears should have won this game. The Bears had no reason to lose this game. Matt Nagy lost this game, and I don't care that Eddie Pinheiro missed 2 kicks. Matt Nagy lost this game. All right. Count that off my chest. I feel better. Seahawks played the Falcons, and this is a little bit like the Rams game. Seahawks won the game in the first half, put up about 27 points, and that was pretty much it. And they just kind of took their foot off the gas in the second half. It just kind of seemed like another situation where it's like, hey, Dan Quinn, you played for this franchise. You played for me, or you were the defensive coordinator back in the day. We want to throw you a bone and make this look closer than it was. 27-20 was the final score. Falcons kind of made it look good. Matt Schaub probably had a shit ton of, probably had a great stat line, but it was all garbage time. As far as Dan Quinn needs to lose his job. It's over for the Falcons. I think we've known that. I've been saying that for a couple weeks now. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. Defensively, they can't really stop anybody. Offensively, they have great wide receivers. They can't really, their offensive line isn't very good. Matt Ryan was hurt in this game, but up to this point, he hasn't been able to create as much as you would want him to for a guy who is, he's been the the NFL MVP, and he's just not really creating the way you would probably want him to, as your franchise guy. As far as the Seahawks go, looked great. Chris Carson went off 90 yards in the touchdown. Bobby Wagner became the Seahawks leading tackler of all time. He passed that benchmark. This is a future Hall of Famer, who should have every record when he retires a Seahawk. The only other thing I really want to talk about is this, close win thing for the Seahawks. They're 6-2, and they haven't played the greatest of competition, but that's going to change. They're in the NFC. They played all right teams. They haven't played great teams, and they really haven't been able to, blow anybody out of the water, any team out of the water. And this happened again with a Falcons team. Like, this should have been a blowout. This was primed and ready to go for a blowout, and they kind of let the Falcons back in. That's just strange to me. This is a one touchdown win in the record books, but I mean, the Seahawks won this game in the first half. Like I said, it is scary moving forward for Seahawks team. That they're 6-2, but they are by no means guaranteed anything. They are 2 games behind in their own division. They have a team called the Rams with Sean McVay leading the charge to overtake them in that division race or in that wild card race. This team is guaranteed nothing at the midpoint way of the season. This could go down fast. 6 wins is sounds good. 6-2 sounds good now, but I mean that 6-win mark isn't going to sound super awesome 4 or 5 weeks from now. We don't know how these next couple games are going to play out. If the Seahawks keep playing these close games, it's going to come back to them. They're going to lose a couple. It's gonna go the other way. It just is. I mean, this is a oddly shaped ball, and it bounces weird sometimes, and that just happens. I really like the Seahawks team. I think they have all the pieces to be a really, really good football team. They need to be blowing teams out a little bit. Yeah, they need to be blowing out the bad teams. They need to, they need to control the game, I feel like, a little bit better than they have. It's just scary. It's just something to think about. As of this point, like I said, still 6-2. They're still good, but nothing is guaranteed. Like I said, it can go either way. I'm a big fan of this team. I just want to see them. I want to see them do well. I want to see them go really far into the playoffs. And this whole keeping every game close thing scares me a little bit. We will move on to a barn burner. Panthers and the 49ers. The 49ers burned the Panthers' barn. 51-13 blowout. Panthers moved to 4-3 in a game that, I mean, a lot of people were saying they could actually have a chance to win. I thought this game would be a lot closer than it was. But no, the 49ers, specifically Tevin Coleman, scored 4 touchdowns, 3 on the ground, 1 through the air. The defensive line just absolutely made life hell for Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen throws 3 interceptions, the first 3 interceptions of his career, no less. Had a 28.9 passer rating for the game. Awful. Kyle Allen had a bad game. It happens. Only threw 158 yards. They just got beat up, and it was pretty much over in the first quarter. Maybe the middle of the second quarter, it was already over, and it just got worse and worse. The 49ers did not take their foot off the gas. They crushed this team, and I mean that's the dichotomy. That's what you kind of want to see from these great teams. 49ers, I feel like, have they've asserted themselves at the very top of the NFC, at the very top of the NFL. They are a great team. Kyle Shanahan, week in and week out, just has beautiful play designs. This truly felt like, to me, this was scheme over talent. I can't say it any better. Maybe that's a little insulting the 49ers, but offensively speaking, I felt like it was scheme over talent, in the sense that I think Garoppolo and Kyle Allen kind of wash at this point. I don't know. You can really say one's that much better. They both just kind of, point guards. Throw it to your guys. That's kind of their game. Neither of them have really proved that they can create that much to me. But when you go out, look at a little bit deeper, McCaffrey's the best running back in the league right now. That beats any of the running backs 49ers have. I would argue that DJ Moore is a better wide receiver than any of the wide receivers that the 49ers have. And I think Curtis Samuel is very dangerous. They have a better, I guess they don't have a better tight end. George Kittle's pretty damn good. But, it's not a perfect analogy. But I feel like it works. The Panthers just kind of rely on their talent, and they have a good scheme. I'm not shitting on anything that the Panthers have done so far this season, but it's just week in and week out. Kyle Shanahan blows my mind with the stuff that he does that nobody else can do. He creates space. He creates running lanes. He does it through the air, on the ground. He is. I mean, he's the best play caller and play designer in the game right now, and it's really not even close. Right now, it's really not. And then defensively, they're complementing the defense. They have a defensive line that is scary. They have a good defense, really good defense, and it's led by Nick Bosa, who had a little bit of an injury scare, but he's fine. And this was a blowout. I don't think there's much else to say other than, Kyle Allen loses a game. Do we question if Cam Newton should come back? I've been a proponent that Cam Newton should come back. I've been saying that, but also saying, it's, if you're winning, you're not wrong. That's kind of where it goes. And now that Kyle Allen has lost the game and just got crushed, Cam Newton loses this game too, I believe. I think Cam Newton loses the game too. I don't think it really would have mattered, which is almost why I'm glad they kept Kyle Allen in, because it would have really the headline is a little bit worse for Cam if he comes in and loses this game. I probably the same way, honestly. Maybe he gets another touchdown, maybe he evades one tackler and makes a play. But other than that, this was an L for the Panthers either way. It really was, especially the way the 49ers played. 49ers advanced to 7-1, and it doesn't look like anybody can stop them. So until they get stopped, I'll believe nobody can stop them. And we will move on from there. And we can talk about another game that went kind of the way I thought it would. Browns at Patriots. Patriots beat the Browns 27-13. Browns fall to 2-5. Who would have thought at the midpoint of the season the Browns would have a worse record this year than they did last year? The Patriots moved to 8-0. They won this game on the backs of a great defense. They pretty much won this game in the first quarter. They went up 17-0 in the first quarter, and they had a defense that could just suffocate the Browns, and an offense that could just do enough, honestly. 2 fumbles from Nick Chubb early really killed them. I think this game. The Browns weren't going to go in and beat the Patriots no matter what. Jarvis Landry or OBJ or whoever it was that said they were. It didn't matter. Patriots were going to win this game. Patriots aren't going to lose to a young quarterback at home. There was a graphic on the game. I think either 24-0, 28-0, something like that. They're not going to lose this game. They weren't. It was never going to happen. Freddie Kitchens is, in my opinion, somebody who should be kind of on the hot seat right now of for a one and done kind of coach. I haven't seen anything from him. I haven't seen growth from his team, which is kind of the big thing that I want to see at this point. This Browns team is bad, and Baker isn't good right now, and they have too much talent for on their offense to be this bad. I understand that the offensive line is bad. I understand that at a certain point that's going to handicap you, but there's got to be something. You can't be 2-5 with OBJ and Jarvis Landry and Nick Chubb, who's a beast, and Baker Mayfield, who's supposed to be really, really good, the first pick in the draft, who flashed last year. That has to fall on somebody, and maybe I don't want to say this because I don't want to confirm my own biases almost, because I came into the season believing that Freddie Kitchens probably shouldn't have been the head coach choice for the Broncos, and now they're 2-5. I don't want to sit here and be like, I told you. Like, no, I didn't know this was how it's gonna go. I didn't expect this to go this way. I didn't think the Browns would be this bad. I didn't expect them to make the playoffs, but I didn't see this coming. But I think the conversation should be had for is Freddie Kitchens on the hot seat, because I think he should be. I think this team is too talented on both sides of the ball, and they just got. I understand they've had injuries. They just got their cornerbacks back and all that, but that's just where I stand on that. I talked about earlier the 3 coaches. It's Adam Gase, Freddie Kitchens, and Zach Taylor. I don't think I said it in the segment, but Zach Taylor for the Bengals should be, a one and done coach, just because, especially Zach Taylor, he shouldn't have been hired. We all knew that going into it. And we will move on to the last game that I'm going to talk about today. The Raiders at the Texans. The Texans beat the Raiders. The Texans, let me rephrase that. Deshaun Watson beats the Raiders single-handedly. I talked about it a little bit with Carson Wentz, how, you shouldn't always have to, win the game by yourself. Well, Deshaun Watson every week he has to win the game by himself, and he does it. It was an absolutely amazing performance for Deshaun Watson. 279 yards and 3 touchdowns does not do it justice for how well he played. Dude got kicked in the eye at the end of the game and still throwing, dots down the field. Got kicked in the eye on his, right before he threw a touchdown, in the same play. And then, to ice the game, to not let the Raiders back in, he throws a, first down with one eye, basically. He is among the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. He's absolutely awesome. I don't believe the offense compliments him as much as he should be. I don't believe the defense compliments him at all. It is unfortunate. J.J. Watt left the game. J.J. Watt, I think, is going to have kind of a serious injury. That's the last thing that I saw on it. I'm sure more news will come out on that tomorrow. But as it's looking right now, maybe a pec tear or something serious for J.J. Watt. That's going to be a huge loss for that defense. Raiders hung in there. Need to give a little bit of shout out. I keep talking about the podcast. Jacob Waters. I told you this would be a really close game. I actually picked the Raiders to win it. I was dumb for maybe picking the Raiders, but I was right about how they would be in this game. Raiders were able to run on the Texans. Raiders were able to throw on the Texans a little bit. My biggest issue for this team, and I know he kind of came into the game questionable, but Josh Jacobs needs to get the ball more. He needs to get more snaps. Maybe not carries. He's fine with carries. He needs more snaps. The fact that Jalen Richard and Washington are coming in and taking the third down back roll, it's wrong. It's asinine. There's things that Josh Jacobs can do, and that he shows that he can do on a weekly basis that Jalen Richard can't do, that James Washington can't do. There's no reason that he should be taken off the field for those guys. Get a better number 2. If you want to take Josh Jacobs off the field, get a better number 2, because these guys aren't cutting it. They're just not. They're average. They're below average, especially compared to Josh Jacobs. The Raiders have a really good running back, and I really believe they don't use him enough. And I promise, I'm not just saying that as an owner in fantasy of Josh Jacobs. I'm not. I'm saying that as somebody who's watching the Raiders. I think they're 3-4 right now, and they should be better. They're really close. They're really close to being a great football team. I think Derek Carr can be the guy. I think he needs pieces around him, but they're getting pieces around him. The offensive line is good enough. They need another wide receiver. They really do. They need one more true number 1. Kind of seemed like they could have had one, but they got somebody with brain damage or whatever's wrong with AB. They need maybe a couple more pieces defensively to be, a game-changing team or a competitive team, in the playoffs. But right now, they're a really good football team. They are going to be a pain in the ass for a lot of teams. They're like the Lions of the AFC. Those are two teams that they're really they're on the cusp, in my opinion, of being a really, really good team. And the Lions are probably a little bit better than the Raiders. I will say that. But yeah, they gave the Texans everything they could handle, and Texans just barely came out ahead on that one. It was a really great game, it really was. If you have a chance to go watch that game, I would, because you're going to see a lot of great stuff from Deshaun Watson, especially Deshaun Watson. He played out of his mind. That is it for the games. This was a great week, great Sunday of football. I really enjoyed it. My Dolphins play tomorrow, Monday night, against the Steelers, and at no point that game sounded like a good game. So I don't understand the Monday night schedule. I feel like it used to be Monday night was the night for football. You put the best games on Monday night. No. The Dolphins are getting regulated to Monday night. It's absolutely crazy to me. But yeah, we have a primetime game. We're going to suck in primetime. We're going to suck at night this week. Like, subscribe. Please leave a comment. Talk to me. If you want to talk football, hit me up on Twitter @BetweenPylons. Hit me up on Instagram. I suck at Instagram, so I probably won't respond to that. But if you definitely hit me up on Twitter, I will. If you comment below, I try to pretty much reply to every comment. Please like, please subscribe. Please go check us out. Our podcast, Between the Pylons podcast. Check that out. That is a great way to hear a little bit more of my thoughts on the football world. I am going to be posting kind of like a midway review article this week, so you can check that out at betweenthepylons.com. I might do a video on it. I don't know. If I do, it's just going to be a very kind of straightforward video, lightly edited, as I like to say. But yeah, I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please come back next week for another reactions video. Thanks, guys. And always remember, try and get 1% better every day.